If you've been holding back from reaching out, staring at your phone, wondering if she's even thinking about you, stop. Because right now, no contact is actually working. But what you're about to do next could destroy everything you've built. Maybe this feels familiar. You've been strong for weeks. You haven't texted her. You haven't called. You've replayed every moment in your head, trying to understand what went wrong. Some nights it feels like she's forgotten you. Other nights you swear you can feel her energy, like she's missing you too. And now you're torn. You want to reach out. You want to break the silence just to see if she still cares, if she still feels something. You tell yourself it's just one message. What's the worst that could happen? But deep down, you know that urge isn't power. It's fear. Fear that she's slipping away. Fear that your silence isn't working. And that fear, that's what ruins everything for most men. If this is you, pacing around, checking her social media, wondering if she's moved on, convincing yourself she's talking to someone else, I get it. You're not weak. You're human. You cared. You gave. And now the silence feels like torture. But here's what you don't see. While you're questioning yourself, she is noticing, she's wondering why you haven't reached out. She's wondering if you've finally moved on. And that's exactly when the power shifts. This is the moment where most men fail. Not because no contact didn't work, but because they couldn't handle what comes after it starts working. So before you send that message, before you break the silence, ask yourself, what if the moment you reach out is the exact moment she was about to come back? You know what most men get wrong about no contact? They think it's some kind of trick, a tactic to make her chase you. But that's not what this is about. No contact isn't a game. It's a test of your emotional strength, your self-respect, and your ability to lead your own life without needing her validation. Most guys break no contact the moment they start to feel something, the silence gets heavy, they start overthinking, and their emotions start running the show. They think if I just text her once, she'll see I still care. But that's exactly where they lose their power, because the truth is she already knows you care. That was never the question. The question is, do you care about yourself enough to stay grounded when it hurts? When a woman pulls away, she's not just testing your patience, she's testing your emotional maturity. Can you stay calm when things don't go your way? Can you stay centered when she goes silent? Most men can't. They react, they chase, they try to fix something that can't be fixed through words. The core masculine principle here is this. Real strength doesn't chase reassurance. It creates certainty from within. That means your value doesn't rise or fall based on her attention. You don't break no contact to prove something. You hold your ground because you already know your worth. And the moment you reach that point, when your peace matters more than her response, that's when she starts to feel your absence. That's when she starts to wonder, because women are drawn to the man who doesn't need her to feel whole, the man who moves with quiet confidence. So don't mess it up by doing what most men do. Reacting from fear, stay calm, stay grounded. Let her feel the distance you've created, because that silence, that discipline, that's what makes her realize she lost something rare. A man who leads himself. The room feels too quiet tonight, the kind of silence that hums, heavy, alive, pressing against your chest. The clock ticks louder than usual. You glance at your phone again, not because you're expecting anything, but because part of you still hopes her name isn't there, not even a notification. Just that blank screen reflecting your own tired face back at you. You tell yourself you're fine, you're doing great, no contact is working, you whisper. But then that small voice sneaks in. What if she's already moved on? What if she's texting someone else right now? What if she's forgotten you? You feel your stomach tighten, your thumb hovers over her name in your messages. One text, just one, maybe something casual. Hey, just checking in, but you stop because deep down you remember how it felt the last time. When you broke silence too soon, how the conversation felt flat, forced, how her replies were polite but cold. You remember how that emptiness hit harder than her leaving. You stand up, pacing the room. The air smells faintly of her perfume, the one that's still on the sweater hanging over your chair. You almost grab it just to feel close to her again, but instead you take a deep breath, the kind of breath that steadies you. You close your eyes. She's not gone. She's distant. And that distance, that silence is doing what it's supposed to. It's creating space for her to wonder, to feel, to question. You can't see it, but it's happening. She's scrolling through old photos. She's remembering the small things, the way you used to look at her without needing to say a word, the calm she felt when you were around, the calm you're fighting to hold on to right now. The hardest part of no contact isn't the silence. It's what the silence forces you to confront, yourself, the loneliness, the doubt, the craving for control. Every man hits that moment where his emotions beg him to break, to do something, anything, but the truth is doing nothing. That's the power move. That's what separates a boy who reacts from a man who leads. You look back at your phone again. This time it doesn't look like temptation. It looks like a test. And for once you smile, a small, grounded smile, because she doesn't need a message from you right now. She needs to feel the silence you've built. She needs to miss the calm you brought into her chaos. So you put the phone face down, you turn off the light, the room is still silent, but it doesn't feel empty anymore. It feels steady because for the first time, you're not chasing peace through her, you're creating it within yourself. And that's the moment no contact truly starts working. A lot of men think that no contact is just a strategy, a way to manipulate her into missing you. They think if I stay silent long enough, she'll come back, but that's not strength. That's dependency wearing a mask. Here's the truth. No contact isn't about getting her back. It's about getting yourself back. Because if your only goal is her reaction, then you're still giving her control. You're still living in emotional orbit around her attention. You might not see it, but that's why so many men mess this up. They're quiet, but they're not calm. They're waiting, not healing. They're checking her stories, replaying old memories, analyzing her every move, and calling it self-control. But inside, they're still chasing. That's the first false belief, that silence alone equals strength. True strength is when your silence comes from peace, not fear. You can't fake emotional groundedness. You can't fake self-worth. She'll feel it even from a distance. That's why some men go months with no contact and still never get her back. Because the energy behind their silence is still desperate. They're not detached. They're just hiding behind discipline. Then there's the second false belief that no contact is a punishment. You think if I pull away, she'll realize what she lost, but that mindset keeps you trapped in the same emotional loop. You're still trying to teach her a lesson instead of learning yours. The truth is, she didn't ghost you. You disappeared from yourself. You stopped being the man who had a life, a mission, a direction. You made her your purpose, and when she pulled away, everything collapsed. No contact isn't meant to punish her. It's meant to rebuild you. It's about becoming the version of yourself you were before you needed her validation to feel valuable. Because when you reconnect with that man, the calm, grounded, focused one, you stop waiting for her to come back. You start realizing that maybe the person who was meant to come back was you, and that shift changes everything. It's the energy women feel when they start thinking about you again, not because you're silent, but because you're stable. They can sense when your attention is turned inward. They can feel when you've stopped chasing, stopped overthinking, stopped waiting. That's when curiosity creeps in. That's when attraction is reborn. But if you reach out before that shift happens, if you act from emotion, from fear, from loneliness, you undo everything. You confirm that your silence was never about growth, it was about control. And control always pushes people away, so stop treating no contact like a trick. It's not a weapon, it's a mirror. It shows you where your attachments live. It exposes how much of your identity was built on someone else's validation. If you can sit in that silence, feel it, learn from it, grow inside it, that's where the real transformation happens. Because when you master yourself, you no longer need to chase. And that's when people start chasing you. Quote 1, she didn't ghost you, you disappeared from yourself. Quote 2, silence isn't power until it comes from peace. The difference between most men and the 310 man isn't that he knows some secret tactic. It's that he understands himself. Where most men panic in silence, the 3% man becomes still. Where most men chase after reassurance, he reconnects with his center. This is what he understands. No contact isn't about punishing anyone. It's not about who texts first or who misses who more. It's about energy. It's about alignment. The 3% man knows that relationships can only flow when both people are emotionally balanced, and that can't happen if he's anxious, reactive, or desperate for control. He understands that attraction isn't built through pressure. It's built through presence. He doesn't wait for her to reach out as proof that he's winning. He already knows he's winning when he can sit in silence without breaking, because that silence isn't empty to him. It's productive. It's where he refocuses on his purpose, his fitness, his peace, his mission. Most men use silence as a strategy to get her back. The 3% man uses it as a space to get himself back. He doesn't count the days. He doesn't stalk her social media. He doesn't overanalyze what she's thinking, because this is what he understands. When a man knows his worth, he doesn't chase confirmation of it. He lives from it. He leads with calmness, not control. He leads with detachment, not distance. He knows that masculine energy isn't loud or reactive. It's stable, grounded, quiet. The kind of energy that says, I'm okay with or without you. And that kind of peace is magnetic. The 3% man knows women don't fall for words. They fall for emotional consistency. They fall for a man who can hold his center even when things don't go his way, because that's the moment she feels safe, not just physically, but emotionally. That's when she starts to wonder, did I lose something rare? This is how he leads with presence, not pressure. He's not trying to get a reaction. He's not proving anything. He's simply showing up as the best version of himself, disciplined, focused, in control of his emotions. And that's what draws her back. Not the silence itself, but the transformation behind it. He understands that no matter what happens, whether she comes back or not, he wins, because the goal was never just to get her attention again. The goal was to become the kind of man who doesn't lose himself when love gets tested. So when no contact starts working, he doesn't mess it up. He doesn't rush to break the silence. He lets her feel what it's like to miss a man who's not waiting, a man who's evolving. And maybe that's the real secret. It's not about what he says or when he reaches out. It's about who he becomes in the silence. Because once a man reconnects with that power, his peace, his purpose, his presence, he stops playing games. And when he stops playing games, he becomes the prize again. That's what the 3-step man understands. NDR said, you don't attract through control, you attract through becoming. Man, she can no longer ignore. It happens quietly. Not in some dramatic moment, not with music swelling in the background. It happens in the middle of an ordinary evening. The light in your room feels softer than usual. The air is still. Your phone sits beside you, face down, and for the first time, it's not pulling at you. You're not waiting anymore. For weeks, that silence between you and her felt like punishment. Like every second she didn't call was proof that you weren't enough. You'd replay the last words, dissect every message, every memory. Like maybe there was something you could have done differently. You thought healing would feel clean and steady. But it didn't. It felt like standing in the wreckage of everything you gave. And yet tonight, something feels different. You take a slow breath and it hits you. You're not thinking about her anymore. Not in that aching, desperate way. You're thinking about you, about how much of yourself you handed over piece by piece, trying to keep something alive that was already fading. You see it now, the constant need to check your phone, to prove your worth through her attention. It wasn't love. It was fear. Fear of being alone, fear of silence. Fear that without her, you'd lose the reflection of who you thought you were, but you didn't lose yourself. You were just quiet long enough to hear the parts of you that had been whispering all along. The parts that said, you're still here, you still matter, you don't have to chase to be chosen. You look at your reflection, not searching for who she saw, but for who you see, and that's when it happens. The turning point, that calm, unexplainable peace that comes when you stop trying to fix what's outside of you and start rebuilding what's inside. It's not that you stopped caring about her. It's that you stopped needing her to validate what you already know. That you were always enough. That your presence, your stability, your quiet strength, those were never things to prove. They were things to protect. You start to remember the man you were before the overthinking, before the constant waiting, before you built your identity around someone else's attention. The man who had direction, who had peace, who led himself. You realize now that no contact was never just about her missing you. It was about you remembering yourself. It was about giving your energy back to the one person who truly needed it, you. And in that moment, something inside shifts. The silence doesn't feel heavy anymore. It feels sacred. You no longer crave her text. You no longer need to know what she's thinking, because for the first time in a long time, you know what you're thinking. You whisper it softly, almost to yourself. I'm done waiting. And that sentence doesn't sound like loss. It sounds like freedom. Because the moment you stop waiting for someone else to choose you is the moment you remember you were never meant to be waiting at all. You sit in the silence, and for once it doesn't feel like emptiness. It feels like truth. You realize that all this time you weren't fighting to get her back. You were fighting to come back to yourself. Every day you stayed quiet wasn't weakness. It was proof that you were learning to stand again without needing anyone to steady you. The ache, the doubt, the endless overthinking, it all led you here to this stillness where you finally understand what real strength feels like. It's not loud, it's not angry, it's not chasing, it's calm, it's knowing, it's peace. And as you take that breath, the kind that feels like the first one in years, you realize something unshakable. You didn't lose her by staying silent. You found yourself by not breaking it.